Hello and welcome to the Elements and Techniques of Fiction. Fiction is stories that have made up characters and events. Fiction is made up by an author, even though some of it might seem familiar, even though some of it might have similarities to real life events, and even though it might have similarities to real life people, it is totally made up. So where do we see fiction? In movies, music videos, novels, video games, poetry, and drama. Nonfiction is about real people, places, events, and ideas. You see all kinds of nonfiction texts. Some of them are informational, some of them are narrative, some of them are persuasive. Some of them tell you how to do things, some of them tell you what to think, and some of them tell you about someone or something. It's true. So nonfiction is about real, true stuff. Nonfiction about things that exist in real life or real people who have existed in some point or another. The ideas are real, the opinions are real, it's all real stuff. Informational texts, these are written by authors who have the purpose to inform. Manuals, directions, recipes, how-to guides, it's very expository. It's going to tell you about something, explain something to you. It might even be descriptive. Narrative nonfiction, the author's primary purpose is typically to entertain you. The stories are still real. Biographies, autobiographies, it could even be a personal essay, something like a memoir, but it's written in a way that is going to be more entertaining. It includes a lot of story elements. Arguments and persuasion, the author's purpose is primarily to persuade, like letters to the editor, advertisements, advocacy speeches, and conspiracy theories. They're all meant to convince you of something. Fiction, again, is made up by an author. So whenever something is made up, it's not real anymore. You see it a lot in fantasy, you can see it in sci-fi, you can see it in video games, animations, you can see it in some of your favorite movies, your favorite books, your favorite stories, your favorite television shows. A lot of these include fiction. Of course, you can have some nonfiction texts out there, like documentaries or something like that, but fiction is anything that's going to be made up. Some element of it is not true, no matter how similar it may seem to real life. Fiction is fake. It never happened. The people don't exist. Characters. These are the people within a story, and you can remember characters by remembering style. So look at the speech, what a character says, such as the dialogue, the way a character thinks, the effects characters have on others. So you want to look at the interactions and relationships with other characters, how other characters feel or think or react to a particular character. Actions, what a character does. Looks, the physical description of a character. So direct characterization, when an author tells you something directly about a character in the story. Point of view is essential to fiction as well. This is the narrator. So who is telling the story? There are three categories of point of view. First person, told by a character in the story. Look for words like I, me, we, us. The narrator will address the reader in second person point of view. So look for keywords like you or your, yours. You don't see it a whole lot in fiction. Third person, told by a narrator that is not in the story. So keywords like he, she, the names of the characters. The setting is essential to fictional texts. This is when, so the time period or the time of day. Where, like a location, is it in a city, a town, a house, a public place? Is it in a vehicle? Is it in one part of a town? Is it in one particular section or area or type of construction, like a building or an apartment or a house? The environment and weather, so what is the atmosphere, what are the conditions like? And also consider the social economic status. So is it a wealthy neighborhood or a poor neighborhood? Are the characters high class or low class? Is there wealth or poverty? So these things can give you a lot of indication of the setting and help you picture it in your mind. Mood. This is how you, the reader, feels when you're reading. The setting helps to create the mood. So consider the difference between these locations, a dark night in a dense forest versus a brightly lit Disney Palace ballroom. So think about the different way that you might feel if you were to be exposed to that particular type of setting. Mood is created by word choice, so it's the way that the story is written. Mood can typically be identified in one word: excited, sad, angry, unhappy, or bored. Consider the plot of a story. These are the events and actions of a story. It's whatever happens. The plot diagram is one way that you can track what's going on in the plot. So in the exposition, you have the introduction of the characters and the basic situation. The conflict is going to be a struggle between opposing forces that drives the action of the story. There's going to be some kind of inciting incident that really sets the primary conflict in the story in motion. There can be a lot of minor conflicts throughout the rising action, which is the portion of the story where the conflict increases. The tension builds. It's typically most of your story in the rising action. The climax is the peak of action and conflict. It's where the main character comes face to face with the conflict and some kind of change is going to result. The falling action then is the portion of the story where the conflict decreases. All the loose ends are starting to wrap up and things like that. Finally, the resolution will be the outcome of the conflict. Theme. The story's message that a reader can take away and apply to real life. Theme is universal. It goes beyond the story. Theme is typically inferred, not directly stated. A theme topic can be stated in one word, like love, friendship, or peace. But a theme statement needs to answer the question, what about this topic? So a theme is not going to be one word. A theme topic is one word. So a story could be about love, but what about love? That love transcends death? What about friendship? Is it unbreakable? What about peace? Is it stronger than war? And you can have different themes associated with these topics. Love could be the root of all evil. Love could be fleeting. Friendship could be unimportant, or friendship could be not as strong as bloodlines or something like that. So you can have different themes on the same topic. It depends on the message that the story is giving you, that you can take beyond the story and think about in more universal terms, apply to real life. Theme is what the story teaches readers. It's the life lesson, the meaning, the moral. It's the message about life or human nature that is communicated by a literary work. How to track the theme? Do the literary math and add them up. Look at the author's purpose. Look at the characters. Consider the setting. Determine the plot. What is the topic and what is the main idea? Look at the imagery in a story. Imagery is when the author uses words or phrases to create mental images for the reader. It's descriptive language. Look at these examples of imagery in the exposition. The day my son Laurie started kindergarten, he renounced corduroy overalls with bibs and began wearing blue jeans with a belt. I watched him go off the first morning with the older girl next door, seeing clearly that an era of my life was ended. My sweet-voiced, nursery school taught, replaced by a long-trousered, swaggering character who forgot to stop at the corner and wave goodbye to me. Why do you think the author used imagery to set the stage? So consider the exposition to this particular story. How does the imagery really help you to understand the setting, maybe get some insight into the characters? It's going to set up the mood of the story. So it's going to give you a lot of information that's going to help you to picture what's happening and get to know the characters a little bit more. You also learn through the imagery that this is the perspective of a first-person narrator. Know the difference between fiction and nonfiction. Fiction, it's fake, it's made up. It's written to entertain. It contains a plot, setting, and characters. It includes dialogue and imagery. It has a main idea and theme. Nonfiction, it's true. It contains facts and examples from real life. It's written for a variety of reasons: to inform, to persuade, to entertain. It may or may not contain story elements. Consider the difference between a biography, which is a story written about someone's life, versus a recipe that might tell you how to make noodles. Has a main idea and supporting details. If you have any questions, make sure you ask your teacher.